Everyone has different limits on what they'll put up with. Some people let things slide to keep the peace. Others speak up at the smallest issue. But there's something interesting about how certain men handle things they find unacceptable. While most might brush off small incidents or make excuses for others' behavior, these guys operate differently. It's not that they're looking for trouble or trying to be difficult. They just have a few lines in the sand that they refuse to let anyone cross. And once you know what those are, it's not hard to recognize them when you see them. So what does a Sigma male never tolerate? Here are 6 things that these guys simply won't put up with. Number 1. When others use your kindness to demand more. We've all been there. You help someone once, and suddenly they act like you their personal assistant. But what's really interesting is how some people will carefully document your every kindness just to use it against you. Later, it starts small. A favor here, a small request there before you know it. They're not even asking anymore. They're expecting. And if you refuse, they'll remind you of every single thing they think you owe them. Sigma males instantly sense when someone is starting to take advantage. They don't mind helping people out, but they'll quickly shut down any attempts to manipulate their kindness. While others might feel guilted in to helping again and again, these guys see right through it. It's not that they regret being kind. They just understand how some people try to turn one-time kindness into a lifetime subscription. Watch how it plays out. Someone at work asks for help with a project. You agree, thinking it's a one-time thing. Next thing, you know, they're dumping their work on your desk regularly, acting like you're obligated to help because you did it before. Or that friend who keeps score of every little favor, ready to cash them in like emotional currency. The really frustrating part is these people often act offended when you finally say no. Suddenly, you're not the person they thought you were, or changed just because you won't let them take advantage anymore. This is why Sigma males draw clear lines from the start. They'll help when they choose to, but the moment someone tries to use past kindness as leverage, that door closes fast. Not because they're mean or selfish, but because they simply don't tolerate taking advantage of their good nature. Real kindness doesn't come with strings. Attached, genuine help isn't a debt to be collected. It's a choice made freely each time. Number 2. When your trust gets betrayed after giving second chances, there's something really painful about being let down by someone you chose to trust. Again, that moment when you realize they've done exactly what they promised they wouldn't do. Except this time, you can't even say you didn't see it coming. While most people are willing to give second chances, Sigma males have a much harder time with this. They don't hand them out easily. But when they do, it's with clear eyes and full awareness of the risk. Not because they're naive about people changing, but because they understand that sometimes good people make bad choices. But what happens when that carefully given trust gets shattered again? The fake apologies start flowing. The excuses pile up, and suddenly you're hearing the same promises you heard last time. Only now, the words ring. Hollow. It hits differently. The second time around. The first betrayal might have caught you off guard. But this one's on you. At least, that's how it feels. You knew better. Yet you still gave them another shot. And they proved exactly why you shouldn't have. What's worse is watching them follow the same pattern. The sudden attention when they need something. The careful manipulation of your good nature. The way they remember all your kindness, only when they're in trouble again. For Sigma males, this becomes a turning point, not because they give angry or seek revenge, but because they understand something crucial. Some people don't value trust. They only value what that trust gets them. When this happens, there's no big confrontation, no dramatic fallout. Sigma males simply close that door quietly but firmly. While first betrayals can be mistakes, second ones are usually choices. And sometimes the best response to broken trust isn't anger. It's acceptance that some people will never value what you offer them. Number 3, having your boundaries repeatedly tested. Do you know that feeling when someone just won't take no for an answer? You tell them certain things are off limits, maybe personal stuff you don't want shared, or parts of your life you prefer to keep private. They act like they understand, but then keep pushing. Anyway, these people have a special way of testing limits. First, they share something personal about you that you told them in confidence when you call them out. They act surprised. They didn't think it was a big deal, or they pressure you to spend time with them when you've made it clear you need space. Sigma, males handle these situations differently. Instead of getting angry or giving in, they simply reinforce their boundaries each time they're tested. Not with big confrontations or drama. They just quietly but firmly hold their ground. It's not just about privacy or personal space. Maybe someone keeps trying to make your choices for you or pressure you into things you're not comfortable with. They might make you feel bad for having boundaries in the first place, like you're being difficult or unfriendly. The really frustrating part is how they try to make you doubt yourself. They'll say you have trust issues or that you're too private, too guarded, as if having boundaries is somehow wrong. But here's what makes Sigma males different. They don't explain or defend their boundaries. They don't try to justify why they need what they need. They simply stick to their limits, no matter how much someone pushes, because they've learned that people who can't respect small boundaries won't respect big ones either. Number 4, people who talk behind your back after you help them. Nothing reveals someone's character quite like what they do. After you've helped them one day, they're thanking you for your support, singing your praises to anyone who will listen. The next, you discover they're spreading rumors, twisting your actions, or downplaying your help to make them look better. The pattern is always the same. You step up when they need help, maybe during a tough time at work, a personal crisis, or when they needed someone to lean on you. Do it without expecting anything in return, just because it seemed like the right thing to do. This is where Sigma males notice something others miss while most people are hurt by the betrayal. These men focus on the pattern, how quickly gratitude turns to resentment, how some people can't handle feeling indebted to others, how they try to tear you down just to feel better about needing your help. Sigma males aren't surprised by this behavior. They've seen it before and know it will happen again. So instead of getting angry or seeking revenge, they simply make a mental note and move on. Watch what happens after you help someone climb up. Some will reach back to pull others up too. But there's always those few who try to kick the ladder down. Instead, they'll find flaws. How you helped question your motives, or spread stories about how they really succeeded on their own. What's really going on here? Often, it's about their own insecurities. They can't stand feeling like they needed someone else's help, so they try to rewrite the story. Your kindness becomes manipulation. Your help becomes interference. Your support becomes an attempt to control. The irony is that these are usually the same people who will show up again when they need more help, acting like nothing ever happened. But by then, Sigma males have already moved on. Sometimes the best response to backstabbing isn't confrontation. It's simply noting who shows their true colors after you help them. Number 5. Being treated like a backup plan. Have you ever noticed how some people only remember you exist when their first choice falls through? It's like being kept on a shelf, only taken down when the preferred option isn't available. And somehow, they expect you to be grateful for whatever attention they decide to throw your way. You see it everywhere. That friend who only calls when their other plans cancel. The colleague who ignored you until they need your expertise. The person who keeps you hanging, waiting to see if something better comes along before committing to plans with you. It's frustrating, disrespectful, and frankly insulting for Sigma males. This is a big red flag. They don't have time or energy for people who treat them like an afterthought or a backup plan in case things don't work out with someone else. What's interesting is how some people try to make it seem normal. They'll say things about being busy, having complicated schedules, or dealing with life's demands. But somehow, they always have time for certain other people or activities. You're just not one of them. Sigma males can't understand this type of treatment, not because they're particularly clever, but because they value their time too much to waste it being someone's plan B. When they notice this pattern, they don't make a scene or demand explanations. They simply stop being available. It's amazing how quickly these people notice when their backup plan develops a backbone. Suddenly they're full of attention and promises, but by then it's usually too late. Because once you realize your worth being someone's afterthought stops being an option. The funny thing about backup plans is they only work if you agree to be one. And some people would rather walk away than be kept waiting in the wings. Number 6. People who push you to explain personal choices. Everyone has an opinion about how you should live your life, and somehow they feel entitled to an explanation for choices that don't affect them at all. It's like some people can't handle seeing someone do things differently. They'll question your decisions, demand explanations, and try to convince you their way is better. It's not enough for them to disagree. They need you to justify every choice that doesn't fit their view of normal. When someone starts questioning their personal choices, Sigma males don't launch into detailed explanations or try to defend themselves. They simply let them know that their choices don't need to make sense to anyone else. You see it in daily situations. Maybe you prefer spending weekends alone, focusing on your hobbies instead of going out. Or you choose to stay single because you're working on personal goals. Suddenly, everyone's an expert on how you should live, acting like your choices are somehow offensive to them. The questions never stop coming. Why don't you want kids yet? Why aren't you more ambitious? Why do you live so simply when you could afford more? Each question carrying the assumption that you owe them an explanation, that your choices aren't valid unless they approve. But here's what these people don't get. The more they push for explanations, the less likely they are to get them. Because sometimes the only response needed is "that's what works for me." Not because Sigma males can't explain, but because their personal choices aren't up for debate. The people who deserve to understand your choices are usually the ones who don't demand explanations for.